dance for joy or lust or anger.
Welcome to Sensible Secondhand Classics, the series where we look at practical and sensible cars that are over 15 years old that you can buy for a budget of between £1,000 and £5,000. This is a 1974 BMW E12 520 automatic, but is it any good? Should you care? Let's find out, shall we? So the E12 BMW 5 Series was introduced at the time of the Munich Olympics in 1972. Obviously, because Munich was the host of the Olympics at the same time, and BMW was based in Munich, it was a sort of quite a momentous occasion. It replaced the Neue Klasse series of BMW saloons, and itself was replaced in 1981 by the E28 5 Series, with which this does actually share some components. The 520 was the base model of the time of introduction in 1972, and this car was built in South Africa in 1974, so it's a little bit different from the German-built ones. The engine in this car, when it was new, was a four-cylinder M10 engine with 115 horsepower. It's connected in this particular car to a 3-speed automatic gearbox. You also get a 4-speed manual, and on some versions of this car, a 5-speed manual. I'm led to believe, actually, this car is quite slow, but it seems quite lively to me, actually. I'm going to go over some more of the engines later, because there's so many of them, and it's a little bit difficult for me to remember everything. So we'll look at that a bit later. The car feels very much like a sort of, I don't know, Triumph 2000 of a year or something like that. It's this big sort of stately car, and it's got a power steering in this particular model, which I'm very grateful for because it'd be very heavy without it. And it seems to drive sort of okay, actually. I'm not going to go very fast because my speedo's in kmh, so I have to think in my head every time I see a sort of reading or something. But yeah, it's nice. It's amazing driving this 51-year-old car around these little lanes in Sussex. Absolutely brilliant. So this very unusual colour was actually exclusive to the South African market, and also, although this is a 520 with a 4-cylinder engine, it has a 6-cylinder bonnet, because again in South Africa all the pre-facelift E12s had a 6-cylinder bonnet. It's got a different engine in it now from the original one. It's actually got one out of the 1980s E30. So it produces a bit of a different power output. It's got electronic fuel injection as opposed to the original carb setup. Amazing history behind this car. It's 51 years old this year. It was imported from South Africa into Portugal in about 1979, I believe, and it was in Portugal till 2022. Gentil from Gentil's Garage, who owns this car, actually owned it twice, just for second ownership, a period that he has, and he's gradually doing things to it. The car has been resprayed at some point in its life, very, very poorly, as you can see here, with primers sort of showing and everything like that. That area was electric, but it's actually broken, which is a bit of a shame. The original dealership in 1974 in South Africa was out of Bavaria, as you can see here, and that is a South African AA sticker as well. This has the pre-facelift rear lights. Facelift occurred in late 1976. Just open the boot. Massive, massive sill, but quite a big boot. Look, all this stuff you can fit in here. Loads and loads of bits. The car doesn't really have any sort of significant rust. It's got a bit sort of where it just needs a bit of a clean down of things, and there's one of the doors has a very, very small perforation in it, but it's not too bad really for a car that's over 50 years old. There we go. I wonder if the back seat open. Sorry, back door. Let's have a look. There we go. The German market cars would have actually had a cloth interior. This being a South African one, it's got a vinyl interior and some other differences as well. The dash is interesting. So, ashtrays, of course, because it's 1974. No rear seat belts, of course. It's quite a spacious car, really. It feels good. Although this driver's seat is actually in a position that Gentil has it, and I haven't moved it because I'm about the same height as him. It's got an armrest that's actually welded itself in the back. Yeah, let's not pull that out because that's going to break something. Let's just leave that there. So yeah, very typically sort of early 70s interior with this strip of vinyl at the top of the doors and the ashtrays and the windy windows and things like that. The door handle's actually at the bottom here, and you actually use it by pulling through the armrest. Got some mat pockets in the back of here. That cover should be on the rear speaker, rear parcel shelf of the speaker. Unfortunately, radio doesn't work at all, so use your Bluetooth speaker or whatever you can find instead. Weirdly, this car has no door pockets at all. Apparently in South African cars like this one, you don't get door pockets, which is very, very weird. And we have these hilarious seats here with the kind of little wings coming out either side of the head restraint, like there, which you can see, which most unusual. Remind me very much of a BMW 2002, which would have been in production about the same time as this. Right, let's get out and let's strap our feet in here. I keep being reminded of Billy Murray in that episode of The Sweeney called Stop-O Driver that was actually filmed, I think, in 1974, Rawcar 75, where he drives one of these cars. Also, I think it's 74 as well, the one he drives. So we've got this really weird sort of ignition system going on here, where if you want to unlock the steering column, use one key, and then if you want to start the car, use the other key. So there we go. And also a very, very weird sort of mixture of German and English. We've got Blinker, Nebel, which means fog lamp, Bremse, brakes, Ladung, which means charging, and Fernlicht, I think it is, which means high beam. Same thing kind of over here. We've got some English labels, so quite a mixture of stuff. And unfortunately, this dash is not cracked in South Africa. The dash is cracked in Portugal. When Gentil first owned this car about 25 years ago, the dash wasn't cracked. It's just happened with a subsequent owner, which is a shame. Ashtray, of course, in the front because it's 1974. Again, no door pockets for reasons unknown, and windy windows. That actually is drive. I think it's automatic. O is neutral. I can't remember what the German word for neutral is now. I forget, but there we go. And then the other one's normal. So 3-speed auto in this. Gentil says he doesn't like the 3-speed auto very much. I imagine a lot of people don't like the 3-speed automatic gearboxes in these cars. They prefer a 4-speed, or some versions you get a 5-speed manual, I think, as well. So there we go. We've got very sort of early BMW instruments. So early that it's hard to recognise from the sort of classic ones of the 80s and 90s. But it's sort of getting there. The dash isn't actually angled towards the driver in this car, which is unusual. The vents are huge. Look at the size of this middle one. Absolutely enormous. And then we've got the lights on this side here. Lots of fake wood as well, little strips of fake wood. Let's see if the secret mission documents go in there. No, we're not going to get them in there, are we, unfortunately? Which is a shame. There we go. Yeah, seats seem comfortable enough. I don't need it just for height of them. It seems a little bit too high for me, this seat. But we will see. Right, what we do is we now will open the bonnet, which it opens in a very, very strange way, a bit like an old Saab 900. So this is an M10 engine in here. It develops actually in this car because it's got a replacement engine in it, 105 horsepower. The original carburettor engine for a 520 would have had 115 horsepower at this time. And we've got a aftermarket air filter on here as well. It looks very much like it belongs in here, although it's a newer engine out of an E30. Strangely enough, the E28 BMWs, which replaced this generation, they have a completely different way of opening the bonnet. Although some things, like the windscreen and the rear window, are completely interchangeable, and you can sort of make the doors fit as well. So Was the 2018 entirely new car? Well, underneath it was, but there are some other elements carried over from this E12. So there you go, access looks actually pretty good. I've actually got sort of metal oil filler cap on this as well. There's the distributor and everything like that. Radiator at the front, battery down there, not on some weird place like on sort of modern BMWs, but just down there. Yeah, there you go, manufactured in South Africa. Just on there. Excellent, right, we will shut this. I think if you actually shut like a Saab, so I'm going to need 2 hands to shut the bonnet. And then we'll go out for another spin. So back in the day, when this car was launched, it would have competed against things like the probably the Audi 100 C1 and also the Mercedes W114 and 115. Later on, the car, I bet after the facelift in 1976, which introduced things like a different front end, a different bonnet, different tail lamps, things like that, would have competed against the newly introduced Mercedes W123 series and then the C2 Audi 100. It's actually a pleasure to drive this. The 3-speed gearbox, Gentle from Gentle's Garage, who owns this, says it's the main weak point of the car, and I have to agree. Actually, I prefer a manual gearbox, particularly with the changes in elevation and things like that. It is quite easy to drive though, surprisingly so. Well, the brakes take a little bit of getting used to. You have to press quite hard on them. The other thing is the mirrors are absolutely, utterly useless. They are totally useless. You cannot see anything through the mirrors. You can just see bits of the road if you're lucky. And that's not great really when you're trying to park or trying to sort of, I don't know, change lanes on an autobahn or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I've driven quite a few 70s cars, but this is something that's a bit of kind of above the rest. Normally they're little small things like, I don't know, Vauxhall Viva or an Allegro. This is a big old car and it feels actually quite lively, and you know, I understand why Gentle really enjoys this car. He's owned it twice actually. It's pretty amazing really to find one that's still around and is being cherished, and it will be improved as he, you know, just various things to it. I can see why it just stands out in this typical kind of 70s colour that was a South African market exclusive, and just it looks so old-fashioned. I've driven lots of modern BMWs, but never one this old, and I can see why they appealed to quite a lot of people back in the day. Let's have a look at some models and engines for the E12 5 Series viewers. So the base model was the 518 with 90 horsepower. That was built between 74 and 81. Then the 520, this one, built between 72 and 77, 115 horsepower. Then the 520i, which was launched actually with this in 72, first of 130 horsepower until 75, and then after 75, 125 horsepower. In 1976, the 520 with a 6-cylinder engine came in with 122 horsepower, which replaced the 4-cylinder 520, and that was made till the end of production of these in 1981. The 525, 145 horsepower, also a 6-cylinder, came in 1973, was made till 76. After that, the engine was changed for a 150 brake horsepower version in 1976, and that was continued to 81. The 528 was introduced in 74, and until 76, 165 horsepower, and then until 78, 170 horsepower, when it was replaced by the 528i, 184 horsepower. There was a 533, which was actually a 3.2 engine that had 200 horsepower, that ran from 74, 79. And then the top of the range was the M535i, which was only sold from 80 to 81, had 218 horsepower from that very famous engine that went into all kinds of other BMWs at the time, 3.5 litre. So viewers, should you consider an E12 5 Series for your hard-earned budget, be one of £5,000 as a sensible second-hand classic? Well, surprisingly, you can get bits for these cars, and you can, as this car, you can actually have a replacement engine put in. This has one from an E30 from the 1980s in it, for example. It's actually got less power than the standard one, but it seems okay. Yeah, I mean, if you can sort of live with this incredibly sort of old-fashioned feel, which actually is very charming, then this might be a decent car. I'm very grateful for having the opportunity to drive it that Gentle's given me today. Don't forget to subscribe to Gentle's Garage. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to Lloyd Vehicle Consulting as well. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again very soon for some more reasonably priced nostalgic motoring.